heavy quiet when the physical senses shut down entirely. Yet the conscious observer remains intimately, astonishingly aware. This is not merely a philosophical riddle meant for late-night speculation. It is a measurable, rigorous medical anomaly that deeply challenges the very foundation of how we understand the relationship between the physical body and the conscious mind. To explore this mystery, we must step away from the abstract and enter the highly controlled, brightly lit environment of a modern hospital resuscitation room, a place where the fragile boundary between life and death is measured in heartbeats and milliseconds. In the rigorous language of medical science, clinical death is defined by a very specific, catastrophic sequence of physiological events. The heart, the tireless engine that pumps life-giving blood throughout the intricate highways of the human body, suddenly stops its rhythmic beating. Within a matter of seconds, blood pressure plummets to absolute zero. The brain, an incredibly demanding organ that consumes roughly 20% of the body's total energy, despite making up only 2% of its physical weight, is immediately starved of its vital fuel. Deprived of oxygen, the cerebral cortex, which is the outer layer of the brain responsible for conscious thought, complex sensory processing, and the formation of new memories, rapidly begins to shut down. Within 10 to 20 seconds of the heart stopping, the electrical activity measurable on a standard electroencephalogram, or EEG, flattens completely. The brightly glowing medical monitors show a quiet, unmoving horizon, a straight line that signifies the end of neurological function. From a strictly biological and materialistic perspective, the complex neurological machinery required to produce any semblance of consciousness has completely ceased to operate. The lights in the house have been turned off, the doors are locked, and the biological vessel has fallen into a profound, unresponsive silence. Yet, it is precisely in this state of absolute neurological shutdown that we encounter the most baffling paradox of the human experience. Patients who are successfully resuscitated from cardiac arrest frequently report that their consciousness did not simply extinguish when their brain flatlined. Instead, they describe a sensation of gentle detachment, a quiet journey where they slip free from the heavy, restrictive gravity of their physical form. They report floating effortlessly near the ceiling of the hospital room, looking down at their own lifeless bodies with a sense of profound detachment and absolute peace. They watch the frantic, desperate, and highly coordinated efforts of the medical team, hearing the alarming beeps of the monitors and the urgent hushed voices of the doctors, all while resting in an ancient, infinite calm that defies all logical explanation. For decades, the mainstream scientific community easily dismissed these out-of-body experiences as the confused, chaotic hallucinations of a dying brain desperately struggling for its last molecules of oxygen. They were categorized as simple tricks of the mind, highly subjective illusions generated by failing synapses, firing randomly in the dark. But as modern resuscitation techniques advanced and more patients returned from the absolute threshold of death, a startling and undeniable pattern began to emerge from the data. These patients were not returning with vague, dreamlike memories or fragmented hallucinations. They were returning with highly specific, entirely verifiable observations about the events that occurred while they were clinically, demonstrably dead. They could accurately describe the specific medical instruments used to resuscitate them, instruments they had never seen before losing consciousness and that were only brought into the emergency room after their hearts had completely stopped. They could repeat the exact conversations held by the medical staff, noting exactly who said what and where Specific nurses and doctors were standing in the room. Some could even describe events happening in entirely different rooms or hallways of the hospital, details they could not possibly have known from their vantage point on the operating table. These remarkable accounts forced a critical, necessary shift in how rigorous science approached the mystery of consciousness. If a patient whose brain is demonstrably flatlined can accurately see and hear the events happening around them, then consciousness cannot be strictly, exclusively localized to the physical matter of the brain. It suggests that the mind, the true essence of who we are, can somehow operate independently of the biological vessel. To rigorously test this extraordinary phenomenon, one of the most comprehensive and ambitious scientific investigations into near-death experiences was launched, known as the Awareness During Resuscitation Study. Led by the highly respected intensive care physician Dr. Sam Parnia, this groundbreaking research project involved 2,060 cardiac arrest patients across 15 different hospitals located in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Austria. The researchers designed a brilliant, simple test. They placed specialized visual targets on shelves high up near the ceiling in rooms where cardiac arrests were statistically likely to occur. These targets were positioned so that they could only be seen by someone looking down from the ceiling, remaining completely invisible to anyone lying on a hospital bed, standing on the floor, or performing medical procedures. The ultimate goal was to test whether patients who reported out-of-body experiences could actually identify these hidden images, providing objective, measurable proof of their non-local consciousness. While the study faced immense practical challenges, because cardiac arrests are inherently unpredictable and often occur outside the specially prepared rooms, the findings were nevertheless profound, deeply challenging the traditional materialistic worldview of neuroscience. Among the patients who survived the cardiac arrest and were well enough to be interviewed, a significant percentage reported experiencing a distinct sense of awareness during the time they were clinically dead. Furthermore, the researchers documented astonishing cases of verifiable visual and auditory recall that occurred while the patient's brains were completely shut down. One particularly striking and famous case involved a 57-year-old man who experienced a confirmed, verified out-of-body state. After being successfully resuscitated and stabilized, he was able to accurately describe the specific people, sounds, and activities that occurred during his cardiac arrest. He correctly identified the use of an automated external defibrillator, recalling the specific automated voice prompts it issued into the chaotic room. He remembered clearly hearing the attending doctor say, "Shock the patient," and he could describe the physical appearance and clothing of the medical staff involved in his immediate care. What makes this particular case truly astonishing is the precise timing of his memories. By carefully analyzing the detailed medical records and the digital timestamps on the defibrillator machine, the researchers were able to pinpoint exactly when these events occurred in the room. They matched perfectly with a period of up to 3 minutes, during which the patient was entirely pulseless, and his brain was utterly deprived of blood flow. According to everything we currently understand about basic neuroscience, a brain in this severe state of oxygen deprivation cannot process complex sensory information. It cannot form new memories, and it absolutely cannot sustain conscious awareness. The hippocampus, the specific region of the brain that is absolutely crucial for memory formation, is exquisitely sensitive to oxygen deprivation and begins to shut down almost immediately after the heart stops pumping. Yet, this man returned from the edge of the void with crystal clear, highly accurate memories of his own resuscitation. This precise verifiable scientific data invites us to completely reconsider the fundamental nature of our existence within this vast cosmos. It suggests that the brain might not be the ultimate creator of consciousness, but rather a highly complex filtering mechanism, a biological reducing valve that narrows the infinite, vast consciousness of the universe down to the very limited, localized trickle required for our everyday physical survival on this planet. We are immersed in a cosmos of unimaginable scale and complexity, a universe filled with ancient mysteries and quiet wonders that extend far beyond our fragile physical senses. The late theoretical physicist Sir Roger Penrose and the anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff proposed a fascinating, controversial theory that attempts to bridge the seemingly insurmountable gap between quantum mechanics and the human mind. Their theory suggests that consciousness originates at the quantum level inside tiny, delicate structures within our brain cells called microtubules. According to the rigorous theoretical framework, when the heart stops and the biological blood flow ceases, the quantum information contained within these microtubules is not simply destroyed or lost. Instead, it is released, dissipating gently into the vast universe at large. The conscious observer does not die. They simply expand, returning seamlessly to the infinite cosmic field from which they originally emerged. This gentle transition from the localized physical body to the boundless quantum universe aligns beautifully with the accounts of those who have had near-death experiences. They describe a journey into a realm of pure, loving light and profound cosmic connection, a place where the rigid boundaries of time and space dissolve into a beautiful, eternal present. They encounter an ancient wisdom, a deep, abiding peace that completely transcends all ordinary human understanding. When we carefully contemplate these rigorous scientific findings, alongside the profound, deeply personal testimonies of those who have returned, we are gently invited to let go of our existential fear and embrace a sense of respectful awe. The realization that our consciousness might not be permanently limited to the fragile biological machine we temporarily inhabit offers a powerful source of comfort and deep inspiration. It reminds us that we are an integral part of a much grander, continuing journey, intimately connected to the very fabric of the cosmos itself. Our brief, beautiful time on this rocky blue planet is but a single chapter in an endless, quiet exploration of the infinite. As we continue to navigate the profound tension between what we currently know and what we are only just beginning to understand, we are challenged to live our daily lives with greater humility, deeper empathy, and a profound sense of wonder. The physical world, with all its loud noise and constant distraction, is just one small fraction of a much grander reality. There is a vast unseen universe waiting to be discovered, a universe that we quietly touch every time we close our eyes in peaceful contemplation. The mystery of the human soul is not a puzzle to be aggressively solved by science, but a beautiful journey to be experienced, a gentle, continuous unfolding of our true cosmic nature. As we drift further into the profound mystery of the near-death experience, we inevitably encounter a recurring motif that entirely transcends cultural, religious, and geographical boundaries. The quiet journey through a deep, enveloping darkness toward a light of unimaginable, welcoming brilliance. This transition is often described not with fear, but with a profound, ancient sense of returning home. It is a gentle passage that mirrors some of the most fundamental processes we observe in the vast cosmos. When we look out into the deep universe using the powerful instruments developed by agencies like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency, we see that the most extraordinary creations are born in the absolute dark. Stars ignite within the dense, lightless hearts of molecular clouds, bursting forth with a radiant energy that pushes back the surrounding shadows. In a strangely beautiful parallel, the human mind, as the biological body begins its final shutdown, reports a sudden, astonishing emergence into a light that feels more real and more loving than anything experienced in the physical world. It is a paradox that invites us to look deeper. But before we explore the astonishing physics of light and what it might tell us about the human soul, I want to pause for a brief moment. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in these deep cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the light, waiting at the end of the quiet tunnel. When patients who have crossed this ultimate threshold attempt to describe the light they encountered, human language consistently fails them. They speak of a luminescence that does not burn the eyes, a brightness that carries a profound emotional weight. They describe it as a living, intelligent presence that radiates an infinite, unconditional love. From a strictly physiological standpoint, the visual cortex of a dying brain should not be capable of rendering such a highly structured, emotionally overwhelming, and vividly luminous experience. The optical nerves are starved of oxygen, and the complex biological machinery required to process photons has ceased to function. Yet, the observer within reports seeing a light that outshines the sun. To understand the metaphorical power of this light, we must look to the physical universe itself. Light is the ultimate messenger of the cosmos. The ancient photons captured by our space telescopes have traveled across billions of light years, carrying the visual history of the universe across an expanding void. Light is the absolute speed limit of physical reality, the strange, dual-natured phenomenon that binds time and space together. When a person in the midst of a near-death experience reports merging with the light, they are describing a state of profound unity that echoes the fundamental interconnectedness of the cosmos. They report feeling as though they are no longer a separate, isolated entity, but rather a seamless part of the entire, vast universe. This feeling of absolute connection resonates deeply with the words of the brilliant astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, who so eloquently stated that we are part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. This cosmic perspective gently reframes the entire concept of the human soul. If the atoms that construct our physical bodies were forged in the fiery hearts of ancient stars, then our physical forms are literally made of stardust, temporarily borrowed from the universe and arranged into highly complex, self-aware patterns. During a near-death experience, as the biological structure begins to gracefully collapse, the conscious observer seems to step back from the physical vessel, realizing that they are not merely the temporary arrangement of atoms, but the ancient, enduring awareness that animates them. The profound peace reported during these experiences stems from this profound realization. It is the sudden, relieving drop of the ego, the gentle dissolution of the agonizing illusion of separation. The individual droplet of water realizes it has always been the ocean. This dissolution of boundaries leads to another remarkable, deeply humbling aspect of the near-death experience, the panoramic life review. Countless survivors report that upon entering the light, they are presented with a complete, instantaneous replay of their entire existence. But this is not a simple movie playing on a screen. It is an experience of ultimate, total empathy. They report feeling not only their own emotions and intentions during every past interaction, but also the exact emotional impact their actions had on others. If they spoke a harsh word to a stranger decades ago, they experienced the sting of that word precisely as the stranger felt it. If they offered a gentle kindness, they feel the comforting warmth that kindness brought to the other person. This life review is a staggering concept that defies our ordinary understanding of memory, time, and individual isolation. To experience the subjective consciousness of another human being is biologically impossible according to current neurological models. Our brains are closed systems, our nervous system separated by the absolute barrier of the physical body. Yet, in the silent, timeless space of the near-death state, this barrier completely evaporates. The implications are staggering. It suggests that at some fundamental, foundational level of reality, our consciousness is not isolated at all. We are all deeply, intricately connected through a unified field of awareness, a cosmic tapestry, where every thread influences every other thread. When the physical body shuts down, this underlying unity is suddenly, overwhelmingly revealed. The life review does not occur as a harsh judgment handed down by an external authoritarian figure. Instead, it is experienced as a profound, self-directed learning process guided by the unconditional love of the light. It is an invitation to understand the true, rippling consequences of our existence, a gentle but rigorous education in the fundamental importance of compassion. This aligns beautifully with the contemplative scientific view that the universe is not a random, meaningless collection of dead rocks and cold gas, but an evolutionary process continuously moving toward greater complexity, greater connection, and greater self-awareness. When we observe the large-scale structure of the universe, we see an intricate cosmic web of dark matter and shining galaxies, a structure that bears an uncanny, poetic resemblance to the neural networks within the human brain. The universe is endlessly connected. The silence of deep space, once thought to be a terrifying empty void, is now understood to be teeming with hidden energy and the gentle, constant whisper of cosmic radiation. In a similar way, the biological silence of the dying body is not an empty void, but a gateway to a realm of profound, hidden activity. The deep, meditative peace that survivors bring back from the edge of death is the peace of knowing this hidden truth. They have touched the ancient silence and found that it is completely full. They have witnessed the vast, infinite scale of reality and realized that their conscious essence is a permanent part of that majestic design. This knowledge completely transforms their relationship with the physical world. They return to their daily lives with a quiet humility, recognizing that our material concerns are fleeting when compared to the eternal journey of the soul. They no longer fear the quiet transition of death, having seen that the end of the physical form is merely the dropping of a heavy cloak, freeing the conscious observer to return to the boundless, starlit ocean from which it came. We do not need to abandon the critical tools of science to appreciate the enduring mystery of the human soul. In fact, it is by using these tools to push the boundaries of what we can measure that we come face to face with the miraculous nature of our own consciousness. Every observation of a distant galaxy and every documented account of a near-death experience adds another delicate brushstroke to the masterpiece of reality. The journey of discovery is infinite, and we are only taking the first tentative steps into the quiet unknown. But we do not walk alone. We are a community of curious explorers gently supporting one another as we seek to understand our place in this vast cosmos. We are the universe observing itself, experiencing the mathematical perfection of a spiral galaxy, and the profound eternal peace that waits just beyond the fragile edge of human breath. Have you ever noticed how the passage of time seems to warp and stretch, depending entirely upon the profound depth of your focused attention? A single agonizing hour spent waiting in a sterile, brightly lit hospital corridor can feel as though an entire century has slowly dragged by, while a beautiful, uninterrupted evening spent sitting quietly under a vast open canopy of brilliant stars with someone you deeply love can seem to vanish into the dark in what feels like a mere handful of fleeting seconds. We move through our everyday lives completely bound by the rigid, relentless ticking of mechanical clocks, trusting the steady, predictable progression of seconds, minutes, and hours as if it were an absolute, unshakable law of the physical world. We schedule our existence around the rotation of our rocky planet and its orbit around an ordinary yellow star, measuring our lives by the rhythmic beating of our biological hearts. But the rigorous field of modern physics tells us a very different, far more beautiful and flexible story about the true nature of time. The brilliant physicist Albert Einstein fundamentally transformed our entire understanding of reality when he elegantly proved that time is absolutely not a fixed, rigid, universal stage upon which the events of the cosmos play out. Instead, time is a highly malleable, dynamic fabric that physically warps, bends, and stretches in the presence of massive cosmic objects and tremendous velocities. To truly understand the profound depths of the near-death experience, we must carefully examine how the conscious human mind interacts with this strange, flexible fabric when the delicate biological clock inside the chest suddenly and catastrophically stops ticking. It is a breathtaking mystery that invites us to gently reconsider everything we thought we confidently knew about the fundamental structure of our existence. But before we journey any further into this quiet, meditative exploration of cosmic time and the hidden realities of the human soul, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a sense of deep peace and intellectual wonder in these deep cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night, building a quiet community of thoughtful explorers. Now, let us return to this strange, quiet bending of time at the absolute edge of human life. When astronomers and astrophysicists point their most powerful, sophisticated space telescopes toward the dense, swirling centers of distant galaxies, they routinely observe the most extreme and violent environments currently known to exist within the observable universe, supermassive black holes. These are staggering regions of space where the concentration of mass is so incredibly dense and the resulting force of gravity is so overwhelmingly intense that the very fabric of space-time itself is violently pulled downward into a bottomless, inescapable gravitational well. The absolute boundary of a black hole, the point of no return, is mathematically defined as the event horizon. This is a profound cosmic threshold, beyond which absolutely nothing, not even a single photon of light, traveling at the absolute speed limit of the universe, can ever hope to escape. If you possessed a magical, indestructible spacecraft and could safely hover at a great distance, watching an object slowly fall toward one of these massive event horizons, you would witness a phenomenon that deeply challenges human intuition. As the object draws closer and closer to that ultimate threshold, the immense, crushing gravity of the black hole would cause the object's local time to slow down dramatically, relative to your own safe vantage point. From your distant perspective, you would see the object appear to move slower and slower and slower, its light shifting into deeper and deeper shades of red, until it eventually appeared to freeze completely at the very edge of the abyss. To your eyes, it would remain there, perfectly suspended in an eternal, silent moment, never quite appearing to cross the boundary into the dark. Yet, to the object itself, experiencing its own local flow of time, the passage would seem entirely normal as it quickly crossed the threshold and vanished into the great unknown. The event horizon creates a fundamental, absolute disconnect in the subjective experience of time. In the sterile, highly controlled, brightly lit environment of a modern hospital resuscitation room, the sudden, shocking moment of clinical death acts as a profound biological equivalent to this cosmic event horizon. When the human heart abruptly stops pumping oxygenated blood, and the delicate, complex electrical storms within the brain waves completely flatline, the external, measurable clock on the hospital wall simply keeps ticking forward. The dedicated medical team, working with frantic, highly coordinated precision, records a period of cardiac arrest lasting perhaps 3, 4, or exactly 5 measurable earthly minutes. They chart the exact seconds of oxygen deprivation and document the precise timeline of their desperate medical interventions. But to the unconscious patient who is silently crossing that profound biological threshold, the subjective experience of time behaves in an entirely different, almost incomprehensible manner. They routinely return from the edge of the void with vivid, detailed accounts of a profound journey that felt completely removed from the normal constraints of time. They describe entering a vast, incredibly expansive state of consciousness where millions of distinct, beautiful moments could be simultaneously observed and deeply explored in the most microscopic, exquisite detail. They step out of the flowing river of chronological time and enter into an ancient, quiet ocean of timelessness and perfect silence. This profound distortion of time is most strikingly evident during the Panoramic Life Review, a nearly universal feature reported by countless survivors of near-death experiences across the globe. During this deeply humbling phase of their quiet journey, individuals consistently describe vividly reliving their entire physical existence, starting from their very earliest, most fragmented childhood memories all the way through to their final adult days. Crucially, they do not merely see these past events flashing by in a chaotic, rapid blur like a movie played at an impossibly high speed. Instead, they experience them deeply, fully absorbing the profound emotional weight and complex nuances of absolutely every single interaction, every carelessly spoken word, and every silent, hidden intention they ever harbored. They are granted the impossible opportunity to explore the incredibly dense, interconnected web of their earthly actions, carefully tracing the long, rippling consequences of a single, simple act of kindness as it echoed out into the wider world, touching lives they never even knew existed. To truly experience several decades of highly complex, emotionally rich life events in such profound, empathetic depth would seemingly require many long years of dedicated processing time. Yet, according to the strict objective data recorded by the medical monitors, tracking their completely lifeless physical bodies, this entire profound, life-altering journey occurred entirely within the brief span of just a few short minutes. This radical, undeniable discrepancy between the objective medical clock and the subjective conscious experience deeply challenges our fundamental baseline assumption that consciousness is strictly and exclusively bound by the biological ticking of the brain. It strongly suggests that when the incredibly demanding neurological machinery of the cerebral cortex finally shuts down, the mind is absolutely no longer tethered to the strict, linear, chronological progression of the physical world. The conscious essence enters a state of pure timelessness, a quiet, ancient eternity where the past, the present, and the future all seem to exist simultaneously in a beautiful, elegant, unified whole. This mind-bending concept beautifully echoes the rigorous theories of block time found in advanced quantum physics and cosmology. These mathematical theories propose that all moments in time, from the explosive birth of the universe at the Big Bang to the final, quiet fading of the very last star, already exist. They are permanently laid out in a vast, four-dimensional block of space-time, and our persistent human perception of time continuously passing is merely a localized illusion created by our conscious observer slowly moving through this grand, static, magnificent cosmic structure. When the biological brain stops restricting our view, the heavy armor of the ego gently dissolves, allowing the conscious mind to briefly perceive the infinite, interconnected reality of the entire cosmos, before deciding whether to return to the physical world or continue its endless journey into the gentle dark and profound silence. Have you ever stopped on a clear, dark night to gaze up at the sprawling tapestry of the Milky Way and wondered if the immense, silent void of space is truly as empty and disconnected as it appears to our fragile human eyes? We are conditioned by our everyday physical experience to believe in absolute separation. You end where your skin ends, and the rest of the world begins in the empty space between us. A rock sitting on the dusty surface of Mars has absolutely no immediate physical connection to a tree growing quietly in a dense, rainy forest on Earth. For centuries, classical physics completely reinforced this intuitive, deeply ingrained worldview, insisting that the universe was simply a vast mechanical clockwork composed of isolated, independent parts that only interact when they physically bump into one another. But as we have gently pushed the boundaries of human knowledge, peering deeper into the very heart of matter and looking further out into the ancient, infinite cosmos, the rigorous scientific data has revealed a reality that is far more mysterious, profoundly interconnected, and deeply beautiful than we could have ever imagined. It turns out that absolute separation might be the grandest illusion our biological brains have ever constructed. Before we dive deeper into the astonishing world of quantum mechanics and what it reveals about the non-local nature of the human soul during a near-death experience, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to invite you to join our quiet community of explorers. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in these deep cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the hidden, invisible threads that bind the entire cosmos together in a quiet, unified embrace. In the early decades of the 20th century, the brilliant minds of theoretical physics stumbled upon a mathematical anomaly that profoundly disturbed them, a phenomenon so deeply counterintuitive that even Albert Einstein famously dismissed it as spooky action at a distance. This phenomenon is known today as quantum entanglement. When two subatomic particles interact in a certain way, they become inextricably linked, their properties perfectly mirroring each other. If you separate these entangled particles, sending one to a laboratory on Earth and the other on a theoretical rocket ship to the farthest edge of the observable universe, billions of light years away, a truly miraculous thing happens. If you gently measure the spin of the particle on Earth, you instantaneously determine the exact state of the particle on the other side of the cosmos. There is no time delay, No signal travels through the intervening space, because not even light can cross that vast distance in an instant. The two particles behave as if the immense, yawning gulf of space between them simply does not exist. They are, fundamentally, a single, unified system, expressing itself in two different locations simultaneously. This rigorously tested, scientifically proven reality completely shatters our traditional understanding of local, isolated reality. It suggests that deep beneath the physical surface of the world, there is a hidden, underlying architecture of profound, instantaneous connection, a quiet web of relationships that ignores the boundaries of space and time. Now, let us carry this beautiful, staggering scientific concept back into the brightly lit, sterile room of a hospital where a human heart has just stopped beating. When we listen to the profound, transformative accounts of those who have journeyed through the quiet darkness of a near-death experience and safely returned, we consistently hear descriptions that sound remarkably like a subjective, conscious experience of quantum entanglement. As the biological brain shuts down and the physical senses fall perfectly silent, these individuals report that their feeling of being a separate, isolated ego completely dissolves. They do not merely feel close to the universe. They report becoming intimately, inextricably aware of their fundamental oneness with it. They describe an overwhelming, gentle expansion of awareness where they can suddenly feel the quiet presence of every star, the ancient history of the planets, and the conscious essence of every other living being. It is an experience of infinite empathy and absolute, unshakable connection. They are no longer an isolated observer looking out at a cold, dead cosmos. They are the cosmos itself, waking up to its own majestic unity. The pioneering physicist Erwin Schrödinger, one of the founding fathers of quantum theory, once eloquently suggested that, in truth, there is only one mind. He believed that the multiplicity of conscious beings we see around us is merely an illusion, the fragmentation of a single universal consciousness experiencing itself from billions of different localized perspectives. If this profound philosophical insight, grounded in the strange realities of quantum mechanics, is true, then the near-death experience is exactly the moment when that local fragmentation briefly ceases. When the biological receiver fails, the individual mind does not extinguish. It simply drops the heavy armor of physical separation and effortlessly merges back into the vast, infinite ocean of universal awareness. This explains why survivors repeatedly use the word home to describe the place they visit. They have not traveled to a distant physical location in the sky. They have simply awakened to the fundamental ancient reality of what they have always been. They have touched the quiet, hidden foundation of the universe, where everything is inherently connected, and they return with a deep, abiding peace that absolutely transforms how they live out the remainder of their earthly days. To visualize this astonishing interconnectedness on a grand cosmic scale, we only need to look at the spectacular data gathered by institutions like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency. When astrophysicists map the large-scale structure of the observable universe, plotting the positions of millions of distant galaxies and the vast invisible oceans of dark matter that surround them, a breathtaking pattern emerges. The universe is not a random, chaotic scattering of matter. Instead, it forms a highly structured, incredibly complex cosmic web. Huge, glowing filaments of galaxies stretch across hundreds of millions of light-years of empty space, connecting massive, incredibly dense nodes called superclusters. It is a structure of staggering beauty and profound complexity. What is truly astonishing, however, is the striking, undeniable visual and mathematical resemblance between this vast cosmic web and the microscopic, delicate neural networks found within the human brain. The branching, interconnected structure of our neurons, separated by tiny synaptic gaps, yet communicating in a brilliant, synchronized symphony, mirrors the grand architecture of the galaxies separated by vast, dark voids. This profound fractal resonance between the microscopic mind and the macroscopic cosmos is a quiet, beautiful reminder that we are deeply woven into the very fabric of reality. During a near-death experience, as the electrical storms within those physical neural networks gently fade into absolute silence, the conscious observer seems to transcend the biological limitations of the brain and step directly into the greater, infinite mind of the cosmos. The journey is not one of terrifying destruction, but of beautiful, gentle expansion. They enter an ancient silence that is not empty, but completely full of potential and unconditional, radiant love. The immense mystery of consciousness, the greatest unresolved question in modern science, begins to look less like a biological accident and more like the fundamental purpose of the universe itself. We are the cosmos seeking to understand its own beauty. We are the universe learning to love itself. The quiet, contemplative reports of near-death survivors are not anti-scientific myths. They are vital, essential data points pushing us to radically expand our scientific paradigms. They invite us to let go of our fierce, desperate grip on the illusion of separation and embrace the profound wonder of our interconnected existence. As we walk this earthly path, knowing that our bodies are made of ancient star stuff, and our minds are perhaps entangled with the very fabric of reality, we can find a deep, unshakable peace. Death is not the harsh, final closing of a door, but the gentle opening of an infinite window. It is the continuation of an eternal, beautiful journey of discovery, a return to the vast, quiet source from which all light and life gracefully emerge. Let us carry this profound, humbling perspective into our daily lives, treating each other and our fragile, beautiful blue planet with the gentleness and deep reverence that comes from knowing we are all integral, inseparable threads in the same magnificent, ancient, cosmic tapestry. Have you ever held a perfectly dried autumn leaf in the palm of your hand, gently tracing the intricate, fragile veins that once carried life, and wondered what truly happens to its beautiful complexity when it finally crumbles into dust and scatters in the wind? In our everyday human experience, we are deeply conditioned to witness constant decay and permanent loss. We watch ancient mountains slowly erode under the persistent beating of the rain. We see towering, magnificent trees eventually fall and return to the soil, and we feel the steady, unstoppable passage of time slowly aging our own physical bodies. It seems incredibly obvious to our biological senses that when a physical structure breaks down and loses its shape, the unique information that defined its existence is completely and forever erased from the universe. We naturally apply this same intuitive, deeply ingrained logic to the human mind and the delicate electrical architecture of the brain. We assume with absolute certainty that when the biological machinery permanently stops functioning, when the rhythmic beating of the heart ceases and the oxygen stops flowing to the billions of neurons, the rich, complex tapestry of a person's memories, their unique personality, and their entire conscious experience must simply vanish into the absolute dark, like a fragile drawing washed away by a rising tide. But before we journey deeper into the astonishing physics of black holes, holographic realities, and what they might quietly reveal about the eternal nature of human consciousness, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to invite you into our quiet community. I am Theodore, the researcher, And I have noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in these deep cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the quiet, indestructible nature of information and the vast, silent memory of the universe. But the rigorous mathematical world of advanced quantum physics tells a profoundly different, incredibly beautiful story about the fundamental nature of reality. At the very deepest levels of the cosmos, the universe operates under a strict, unyielding law that challenges our deepest fears of annihilation, the principle of the conservation of quantum information. This principle boldly asserts that while physical matter can be transformed and energy can change its state, the fundamental information that describes a physical system can absolutely never be destroyed. It is a breathtaking scientific concept that invites us to view the profound mystery of the near-death experience not as a final, tragic erasure of the human soul, but as a spectacular, gentle transition of information from a temporary biological vessel back into the ancient, enduring fabric of the infinite cosmos. To truly grasp the profound implications of this scientific principle, we must turn our gaze far away from the fragile biology of Earth and look toward the most extreme, terrifyingly powerful objects ever discovered by the brilliant minds at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency. Supermassive black holes. For many decades, theoretical physicists engaged in a fierce, deeply consequential intellectual battle regarding what exactly happens to the fundamental information of an object when it is unfortunate enough to be swallowed by the crushing gravity of a black hole. The legendary physicist Stephen Hawking famously proposed a paradox that shook the very foundations of modern science. He demonstrated that black holes are not completely black, but rather they slowly emit a faint thermal glow, now known as Hawking radiation, gradually evaporating over unimaginably long stretches of cosmic time until they completely disappear. The terrifying problem, the paradox that kept brilliant scientists awake at night, was that this escaping radiation appeared to be completely random. It seemed to carry absolutely no information about the specific stars, planets, or clouds of ancient dust that had originally fallen into the black hole. If the black hole eventually evaporated into nothingness, and the radiation left behind contained no organized data, it meant that the information defining those consumed objects had been permanently, irreversibly destroyed. This horrifying conclusion threatened to break the most sacred laws of quantum mechanics, suggesting that the universe could literally forget its own past. But science is a journey of relentless, beautiful curiosity. After decades of intense, rigorous mathematical exploration, a new, breathtaking understanding began to emerge, offering a profound resolution to this cosmic crisis and providing a stunning new metaphor for the enduring nature of the human soul. Theoretical physicists developed a mind-bending concept known as the holographic principle. This rigorously tested mathematical framework suggests that the entire three-dimensional reality we experience, including all the complex information contained within any object that falls into a black hole, might actually be perfectly preserved and encoded on the two-dimensional surface of the black hole's event horizon. Imagine a perfectly flat, two-dimensional piece of highly advanced holographic film that contains all the necessary data to project a flawless, fully realized three-dimensional image into the air. In a wonderfully similar manner, the universe might be actively storing the fundamental quantum information of everything that has ever existed on a vast, unseen cosmic boundary. When an object is crushed and physically destroyed by the intense gravity of the abyss, its physical form is indeed lost, but its essential defining information is perfectly conserved, woven into the very mathematical fabric of space and time. Nothing is ever truly lost. It is simply translated into a different, more enduring cosmic language. Now, let us gently bring this vast astronomical concept back to the incredibly intimate, deeply personal experience of human consciousness and the quiet, mysterious threshold of clinical death. The human brain is undoubtedly the most incredibly complex, information-dense structure we have ever discovered in the known universe. Every single memory you hold, every complex emotion you have ever felt, every tiny detail of your personality represents an astronomical amount of quantum information physically encoded in the delicate, firing synapses of your biological mind. When the heart stops beating and the physical structure of the brain begins to rapidly degrade due to a catastrophic lack of oxygenated blood, the biological vessel is unequivocally failing. The physical matter is breaking down, preparing to slowly return to the ancient soil of the earth. But if the fundamental laws of the cosmos dictate that quantum information can never be erased, what happens to the incredibly rich, densely packed information of the conscious human observer? Is it possible that just as the defining information of a star is permanently encoded on the boundary of an event horizon even after the star itself is crushed, the essential quantum information of the human soul is gently, perfectly preserved as it transitions out of the dying biological body? This beautiful, rigorous scientific framework provides a stunning, deeply comforting context for the profound experiences reported by those who return from the absolute edge of life. When survivors of near-death experiences describe stepping out of their physical bodies and entering a realm of ultimate clarity, where every single thought, memory, and intention is perfectly preserved and easily accessible, they might literally be experiencing the quiet conservation of their own quantum information. They report that their minds do not feel clouded or diminished by the catastrophic failure of their physical brains. Instead, they feel incredibly sharp, expansive, and free from the heavy, restrictive filters of biological existence. During the deeply humbling, universally reported phenomenon of the Panoramic Life Review, individuals describe vividly experiencing every single moment of their earthly lives simultaneously. They do not just vaguely remember their past, they re-enter it with absolute, perfect fidelity. They feel the exact warmth of the sun on their skin during a childhood summer. They hear the precise, comforting tone of a loved one's voice from decades ago, and they intimately feel the profound emotional ripples of every action they ever took. To our limited, chronological human understanding, storing and instantaneously retrieving this astronomical amount of data seems completely impossible without a functioning, healthy biological brain. But if we view consciousness through the lens of quantum information theory, this profound life review makes perfect, elegant sense. It is the conscious observer experiencing their own perfectly conserved information, gently interacting with the permanent, indestructible record of their existence, encoded within the vast, silent fabric of the cosmos. The human soul, in this contemplative scientific view, is not a ghostly, supernatural vapor, but a highly complex, fundamentally indestructible pattern of quantum information, a unique, irreplaceable song eternally recorded in the vast acoustic architecture of the universe. This profound realization completely transforms our understanding of mortality and gently invites us to view our fleeting, beautiful lives with a deep sense of respectful wonder. We are not temporary, meaningless sparks of biological electricity doomed to simply fade into an eternal, uncaring dark. We are ancient, essential patterns of cosmic information, intricately woven into the magnificent tapestry of reality. Every time you show a quiet, gentle kindness to a stranger, every time you pause to silently admire the staggering, infinite beauty of the night sky, and every time you embrace a moment of deep, reflective peace, you are actively writing complex, beautiful information into the permanent, indestructible record of the universe. The great mystery of the cosmos is not an adversary to be conquered by aggressive, cold logic, but a gentle, welcoming home to be endlessly explored. As we navigate the complex joys and inevitable sorrows of our earthly journey, we can find profound solace in the rigorous, scientific promise that nothing of true value is ever genuinely lost. The gentle silence that waits at the end of our biological lives is not a void of absolute emptiness, but a vast, perfect memory, an infinite, quiet ocean of conserved light and information. The transition we call death may simply be the beautiful, quiet moment when we finally stop reading the story of our lives from the fragile, tearing pages of a physical book and begin to experience it as a pure, eternal truth safely held within the ancient, infinite heart of the cosmos. We are, and always will be, a permanent part of this magnificent journey, forever echoing in the deep, quiet wonder of the universe. Have you ever sat quietly in a cold room, wrapped your hands around a warm cup of tea, and paused to deeply consider the astonishing, invisible fire that constantly burns within your own physical body? We walk through our everyday lives completely accustomed to the steady, rhythmic beating of our hearts and the gentle, continuous rise and fall of our chests. We feel the comforting warmth radiating from our skin, yet we rarely stop to marvel at the profound scientific reality of this biological engine. The human body is a miraculous, incredibly complex biological machine that continuously generates roughly 20 watts of electrical energy. This delicate, highly organized electrical storm powers the billions of neurons in your brain, allowing you to form complex thoughts, experience deep emotions, and wonder about your place in the vast, ancient universe. But a profound, deeply unsettling question naturally arises when we contemplate the fragile threshold of mortality. According to the foundational principles of physics, specifically the first law of thermodynamics, energy can never be created out of nothing, and it can absolutely never be completely destroyed. It can only be gently transformed or transferred from one state to another. When the human heart permanently stops beating and the biological machinery of the body finally ceases to function, the physical heat gently dissipates into the surrounding air, and the chemical nutrients slowly return to the earth. But what happens to that highly organized, intricate pattern of electrical energy that we call human consciousness? Where does the quiet, invisible essence of the conscious observer go when the biological vessel falls into absolute silence? Before we journey further into this breathtaking cosmic mystery and explore how the hidden, invisible forces of the universe might provide a magnificent answer to the eternal survival of the human soul, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the invisible energy that binds the cosmos and the profound destiny of our own conscious light. To truly understand the profound destiny of our conscious energy, we must dramatically expand our perspective and look out into the deepest, darkest reaches of the observable universe. For centuries, astronomers believed that the universe was made entirely of the things we could directly see, touch, and measure. They believed reality was strictly limited to the blazing, magnificent stars, the swirling clouds of ancient cosmic dust, and the rocky, silent planets orbiting in the vast, dark void. But as our scientific instruments grew exponentially more sophisticated and brilliant researchers at institutions like the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency began to precisely measure the gravitational movements of entire galaxies, they made a shocking, profoundly humbling discovery. They realized that all the ordinary matter in the universe, absolutely everything that shines, reflects light or interacts with electromagnetic radiation, makes up a mere 5% of the total cosmos. The rest of reality is completely invisible to our biological eyes and our most advanced optical telescopes. Roughly 27% of the universe is composed of an invisible substance known as dark matter, a mysterious gravitational glue that quietly holds entire galaxies together, preventing them from spinning apart into the infinite void. An even more staggering 68% is composed of dark energy, an incredibly powerful, unseen force that is actively stretching the very fabric of space and time, pushing the universe apart at an accelerating rate. This rigorous, undeniable scientific reality teaches us a deeply profound and humbling lesson. The vast, overwhelming majority of existence is completely invisible, untouchable, and undetectable by standard human senses. Yet it exerts a massive, undeniable influence on the structure and destiny of the entire cosmos. Now, let us gently apply this breathtaking cosmic perspective to the profound mystery of the near-death experience and the nature of the human soul. When medical professionals in a brightly lit hospital room observe a patient whose brain waves have completely flatlined, they are only measuring the physical, biological 5% of that individual's reality. They are observing the quiet shutdown of the material vessel. But the accounts brought back by those who have crossed this threshold and safely returned suggest that consciousness is not an illusion generated by the physical brain, but rather an incredibly sophisticated form of organized, unseen energy. They report stepping out of their physical bodies and entering a realm that feels infinitely more real, more vibrant, and more expansive than the physical world they left behind. It is as if the sudden failure of their biological eyes allows them to finally perceive the remaining 95% of reality. They are no longer restricted to the narrow, limited spectrum of visible light or the sluggish, linear flow of biological time. They enter a vast, unseen architecture of the universe, a magnificent, hidden dimension of pure, conscious energy that exists quietly alongside our own, permeating the ancient silence of space with a profound, unconditional love. We can begin to gently hypothesize, guided by the poetic beauty of modern astrophysics and the rigorous laws of thermodynamics, that the human soul is an intricate, highly organized pattern of this invisible, foundational energy. Just as dark matter provides the unseen essential scaffolding that holds the magnificent spiral arms of a galaxy perfectly in place, consciousness might be the unseen, fundamental scaffolding that gives ultimate meaning and subjective experience to the physical matter of the brain. During our temporary, beautiful journey on this blue planet, this conscious energy is intimately entangled with the biological machinery of our bodies, filtering its vast cosmic awareness through the incredibly narrow, restrictive lens of human survival. But when the biological machinery inevitably wears down and the physical heart stops its rhythmic drumming, the conscious energy is absolutely not destroyed. According to the unyielding laws of the universe, it cannot be erased. Instead, it simply untethers itself. It undergoes a gentle, beautiful transformation, shifting its phase of existence from the dense, heavy reality of physical biology back into the vast, boundless, and infinitely quiet ocean of universal energy. The profound, deep peace that survivors of near-death experiences universally report is the profound relief of this release. It is the overwhelming, joyful realization that they are fundamentally indestructible, an eternal, essential component of the cosmos returning to its natural, expansive state. This paradigm-shifting perspective completely illuminates one of the most mysterious, awe-inspiring aspects of the near-death experience: the incredibly vivid, emotionally overwhelming panoramic life review. If our consciousness is indeed a highly complex and enduring pattern of cosmic energy, then every single thought we think, every word we softly speak, and every action we take inevitably creates subtle, permanent ripples in the vast, invisible fabric of the universe. We are constantly writing the unique, beautiful story of our existence into the foundational energy of the cosmos. When the restrictive, biological filters of the brain are gently removed at the moment of clinical death, we are suddenly granted full, unhindered access to this permanent, energetic record. We do not just vaguely remember our lives. We are able to fully, perfectly re-experience the precise energetic signature of every single moment. We feel the exact echoing resonance of our kindness and the profound rippling impact of our mistakes, guided not by a harsh external judgment, but by the gentle, absolute clarity of the universe knowing itself. We are gently invited to understand that our isolated individual lives are deeply, inextricably woven into the grand, ancient tapestry of all existence. We realize that the love we share and the compassion we offer are not mere biological survival strategies, but fundamental structural forces of the cosmos, as real and as powerful as the gravity that binds the stars. As we continuously, patiently explore the profound depths of this majestic universe, both through the advanced, rigorous mathematical lenses of our space telescopes and the deeply intimate, awe-inspiring reports of human consciousness traversing the threshold of mortality, we find a beautiful, deeply comforting convergence. The strict, unyielding laws of physics and the profound poetic truths of the human heart are beautifully pointing toward the exact same breathtaking cosmic reality. We are absolutely not random biological accidents wandering aimlessly through a cold, dead, and uncaring void. We are highly complex, eternal expressions of a vast, intelligent cosmos that is constantly evolving, constantly experiencing, and constantly seeking to understand its own infinite beauty. The mysterious, quiet transition we call death is absolutely nothing to be feared or dreaded. It is merely a gentle, seamless shedding of a temporary, fragile garment, allowing our true, enduring essence to step out into the magnificent, unseen reality that has silently surrounded us all along. Our profound journey of discovery is truly infinite. The cosmic night is incredibly vast, and we are, forever and always, an essential, indestructible part of the eternal, radiant light that quietly, patiently waits in the ancient, beautiful dark. Have you ever stood at a quiet crossroads in your life, looking down two divergent paths, and wondered what profound mysteries might have unfolded if you had simply chosen to walk in the other direction? Our everyday biological experience of reality is strictly, relentlessly linear. We are bound to a single, continuous timeline, moving relentlessly forward from the fragile moment of our birth toward the quiet, inevitable silence of our physical end. Every choice we make appears to instantly collapse a vast, infinite ocean of shimmering possibilities into one single, concrete, immutable reality. The path not taken slowly fades into the dark, lost forever to the unyielding passage of chronological time. We build our entire understanding of the cosmos upon this rigid progression. But the rigorous mathematical frontier of modern quantum mechanics suggests a far more complex, breathtakingly beautiful architecture to the cosmos, one that deeply challenges our intuitive understanding of existence and offers a staggering, majestic context for the profound visions reported during near-death experiences. What if the ancient infinite universe does not discard those alternate paths at all, but instead preserves every single possibility in a vast, silent structure of reality? Before we journey deeper into this breathtaking cosmic mystery and explore how the strange, beautiful rules of the quantum world might quietly illuminate the eternal nature of the human soul, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the strange, branching paths of the cosmos. In the deeply perplexing, highly rigorous world of quantum physics, researchers have repeatedly proven through meticulous laboratory experiments that at the incredibly tiny subatomic level, the fundamental building blocks of reality absolutely do not exist in a single, definitive state until they are actively measured or observed by a conscious instrument. Instead, they exist in a beautiful, mathematical state known as quantum superposition. Imagine a single, ancient photon of light traveling across the vast, dark emptiness of space, perhaps originating from a distant, swirling galaxy billions of light-years away, until that incredibly fast-moving packet of energy strikes the sophisticated lens of a space telescope operated by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration or the European Space Agency, or until it gently lands upon the delicate retina of a human eye gazing up at the night sky. That single photon simultaneously occupies every single possible path available to it. It exists not as a solid particle, but as a vast rippling wave of pure, uncollapsed potential. It is only in the precise, fleeting moment of observation that this magnificent wave function abruptly collapses, forcing the universe to mathematically choose one single, definitive reality. For many decades, the most brilliant theoretical physicists have fiercely debated the profound implications of this mathematically proven phenomenon. One of the most compelling interpretations still actively debated today is the many worlds interpretation. This rigorous theoretical framework suggests that the wave function of the universe never actually collapses at all. Instead, every single time a quantum event occurs with multiple possible outcomes, the entire fabric of the cosmos literally splits, creating a magnificent, endlessly branching multiverse. In this staggering cosmic architecture, absolutely every single possible outcome actually happens, playing out in its own distinct, inaccessible reality. If we gently carry this breathtaking, mathematically grounded concept of a sprawling, infinite multiverse into the sterile, quietly beeping environment of a modern hospital resuscitation room, the profound reports of those who return from the absolute threshold of death take on a staggering new dimension. When the physical, biological heart abruptly stops its rhythmic drumming and the complex electrical networks of the brain completely flatline, the individual is fundamentally no longer acting as a localized observer, actively collapsing the quantum wave function of their immediate reality. The rigid, heavy filters of the biological body, designed over millions of years to keep us focused on survival in a three-dimensional world, are completely removed. In that profound, ancient silence, the conscious essence is no longer forcibly bound to a single, linear timeline. Survivors of clinical death consistently report stepping out of their physical forms and entering an incredibly vast, luminous realm where they feel an overwhelming connection to absolutely all things, a place where the concepts of past, present, and future dissolve into a beautiful, eternal now. They describe entering a state of absolute clarity, often accompanied by an intense, deeply humbling panoramic life review. But intriguing accounts often suggest something even more profound than simply rewatching the exact, sequential events that physically occurred. Many patients report sensing the intricate, sprawling web of choices they made, alongside a deep, empathetic understanding of what might have beautifully blossomed if they had simply chosen differently. They momentarily touch the infinite, quiet potential of what could have been, guided by an overwhelming, unconditional love that judges absolutely nothing and gently embraces everything. This profound, expansive state of awareness deeply suggests that the human soul, when finally untethered from the heavy, restrictive gravity of biological existence, naturally expands back out into a magnificent state of cosmic superposition. It is as if the isolated single droplet of water, which previously believed it was entirely separate and completely bound to a specific, narrow trajectory flowing down a rocky stream, suddenly falls into the vast, ancient ocean and instantly remembers that it is intimately connected to every other drop, every deep oceanic current, and every crashing wave. The near-death experience may very well be a brief, awe-inspiring glimpse into this underlying, multi-dimensional reality. When the biological brain, which normally functions as a highly efficient survival mechanism designed to ruthlessly filter out the overwhelming complexity of the multiverse and keep us safely focused on securing our next physical breath, finally shuts down, the infinite nature of consciousness is radiantly revealed. The mind is gently liberated from the strict tunnel of single-choice reality and gracefully expands into the vast, quiet architecture of the multiverse, where all potentials eternally reside in perfect harmony. We can visualize this astonishing concept by looking up at the majestic, sprawling canopy of an incredibly ancient tree on a perfectly clear, dark night. From the solid trunk of our singular birth, we grow upward, branching out through billions of individual daily choices. Our biological lives trace one specific, highly intricate path through the twisting branches, firmly defined by the sequence of quantum collapses we have personally observed, but the tree itself, representing the grand structure of ultimate reality, contains absolutely every single branch, every delicate twig, and every beautiful leaf a possibility. When we physically die, the localized spark of our awareness does not merely extinguish into absolute nothingness, like a fragile candle blown out by a harsh wind. Instead, it seems to gently detach from that single leaf on the outer edge of reality and retract back down into the ancient, silent roots of the cosmos, becoming blissfully aware of the entire, magnificent tree of existence. The profound, unshakable peace that near-death survivors report, bringing back with them, stems directly from this breathtaking realization. They have personally seen that the universe is infinitely grander, more complex, and more loving than our fragile biological senses could ever comprehend. They have touched the vast, quiet potential of the cosmos and realized that absolutely nothing of true value is ever genuinely lost in the dark. This scientifically grounded perspective invites us to dramatically re-evaluate how we navigate the complex journey of our brief earthly lives. If our consciousness is rooted in a vast, interconnected reality, then our everyday actions carry a profound cosmic weight. Every time we choose gentle compassion rather than harsh anger, profound empathy over selfish isolation, and every time we pause in the quiet dark to feel respectful wonder at the fact of our own existence, we are actively nurturing the most beautiful branches of this cosmic tree. The inevitable transition we call death is not a terrifying plunge into an empty void. It is the seamless moment when the biological illusion of separation shatters, and the ancient light of human consciousness joyfully expands to embrace the staggering wonder of the universe. The cosmos is a vast ancient journey of infinite potential, and we are, forever and always, its most curious and eternal explorers. Have you ever walked completely alone through a perfectly quiet, incredibly dense forest, carefully noticing how every single element, from the microscopic, invisible fungi working in the rich, dark soil to the sprawling, majestic canopy of ancient trees filtering the golden sunlight, seems completely and impossibly balanced to perfectly support life? We look at the delicate, interconnected ecosystem of our beautiful planet and marvel at its precise harmony, yet we rarely extend that exact same sense of profound awe to the unimaginably vast foundational laws of physics that strictly govern the entire cosmos. If you were to mathematically alter the fundamental constants of the universe by even a tiny fraction of a single %, the ancient stars would absolutely never ignite. The majestic spiral galaxies would never form in the dark, and the heavy, essential elements completely necessary for our biological life would simply never exist. It is a profound, incredibly deep mystery that modern astrophysicists refer to as the fine-tuning of the universe. Why does our physical reality seem so perfectly, mathematically calibrated to eventually produce a conscious mind capable of gazing up into the dark and asking these very questions? What does this seemingly impossible balance quietly suggest about the ultimate purpose and the enduring nature of the human soul when the temporary biological vessel finally ceases its rhythmic breathing? Before we journey any further into this breathtaking cosmic mystery and explore how the staggering precision of the universe might quietly illuminate the eternal nature of human consciousness, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the strange, mathematically perfect architecture of existence. When brilliant cosmologists and theoretical physicists gaze out into the infinite depths of space, using the incredibly powerful instruments built by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency, they do not just see a random, chaotic scattering of cold matter and dead energy. They see a cosmos governed by a set of fundamental forces balanced on a razor-thin, incredibly fragile mathematical edge. Consider the invisible, silent force of gravity, the ancient power that gently pulls matter together to form stars and holds planets in their sweeping orbits. If gravity were just slightly stronger, the entire universe would have violently collapsed back in on itself shortly after the initial expansion of the Big Bang, crushing all matter into a dense, lifeless singularity long before a single star could ever be born. Conversely, if gravity were just slightly weaker, the primordial gases would have simply expanded too quickly, dissipating into the vast, dark emptiness, and matter would never have clumped together to ignite the nuclear furnaces of the very first stars. The exact strength of gravity is balanced perfectly, to an astonishing degree of precision, a number so incredibly fine-tuned that it challenges our deepest assumptions about the random nature of reality. The same astonishing precision applies to the strong and weak nuclear forces that hold the atoms of our bodies together, and to the electromagnetic force that governs the behavior of light. If the delicate balance between these ancient forces were altered by an amount as unimaginably small as 1 part in 10 to the power of 40, the carbon atom, the absolute foundation of all known biological life, could never have been forged in the dying hearts of massive stars. The universe would be a dark, sterile void, completely devoid of complex chemistry, biological life, and conscious observers. This rigorous, deeply verified scientific reality brings us face to face with a staggering, undeniable paradox. The cosmos appears to have known that we were coming. This is known in the rigorous fields of cosmology as the anthropic principle. It suggests that the incredibly specific properties of our vast universe are not just random, meaningless coincidences, but are fundamentally linked to the absolute necessity that conscious life must eventually arise to quietly observe them. If we gently apply this breathtaking cosmic perspective to the profound mysteries of human consciousness and the deeply transformative accounts of the near-death experience, a beautiful, radically new understanding of our existence begins to emerge from the silent dark. When the physical body suffers a catastrophic failure and the complex electrical networks of the biological brain completely shut down, the conscious observer consistently reports entering a realm that feels infinitely more real, purposeful, and deeply intelligent than the random, chaotic physical world they left behind. Survivors of clinical death routinely describe stepping out of their physical forms and being enveloped by an ancient, unconditionally loving presence that feels like the foundational fabric of the universe itself. They do not report drifting into a cold, indifferent, and random void. Instead, they recount entering a state of absolute, perfect clarity, where they realize that absolutely everything in their lives, every moment of profound joy, and every tear of quiet sorrow happened for a specific, meaningful reason. They experience a universe that is not merely a mechanical clockwork of dead atoms, but a living, conscious architecture that is intimately aware of their existence and deeply invested in their spiritual and emotional growth. This subjective, universal experience of profound cosmic intentionality perfectly mirrors the objective, mathematical reality of a highly fine-tuned universe. If the incredibly complex physical laws of the cosmos were precisely calibrated over billions of years just to allow the delicate emergence of the human mind, it strongly suggests that consciousness is not a trivial, accidental byproduct of biological evolution. Rather, consciousness is the ultimate, magnificent goal of the universe. We are the very reason the stars shine in the ancient dark. We are the universe experiencing its own beauty, feeling its own vastness, and trying to comprehend its own profound mysteries. The idea that the universe is fundamentally conscious in its very nature is not an unscientific concept. It echoes the quiet, rigorous thoughts of the brilliant physicist Max Planck, who won the Nobel Prize for his foundational work in quantum theory. He famously declared that he regarded consciousness as fundamental, and that matter is derivative from consciousness. He believed that we absolutely cannot get behind consciousness, and that everything we scientifically observe in the vast cosmos postulates consciousness. If the universe is deeply, fundamentally conscious, then the human soul is essentially a localized, highly focused spark of that infinite, universal mind during our brief, beautiful earthly lives. That spark is intimately entangled with a biological brain, filtering the vast, overwhelming cosmic awareness down to the tiny, necessary details of human survival. We worry about physical shelter and navigate the complex social structures of our daily lives. But beneath all of that temporary biological noise, the quiet, ancient spark of the universal mind remains perfectly intact, resting silently in the deep, peaceful center of our being. When the biological machinery inevitably wears down and the physical heart finally stops beating in the sterile environment of a hospital room, the heavy, restrictive filters are gently removed. The spark is not extinguished. It simply remembers what it has always been. It expands back into the vast, infinite ocean of consciousness, instantly recognizing the profound intentionality and the deep, unconditional love that quietly constructed the stars, carefully balanced the delicate forces of gravity, and patiently guided the long, slow evolution of life over billions of years. The near-death experience is a breathtaking, awe-inspiring glimpse into this foundational, conscious reality. It is a quiet, powerful reminder that we are absolutely not cosmic orphans randomly wandering through a cold, uncaring void. We are highly cherished, deeply essential components of a magnificent, living universe. Every time we choose to look upon the world with a sense of gentle wonder, every time we sit in quiet contemplation of the majestic night sky, and every time we offer a small act of selfless kindness, we are actively participating in the grand, ancient purpose of existence. As we slowly, patiently navigate the complex mysteries of our fragile earthly existence, knowing that the very laws of physics were meticulously balanced to allow us to simply be here, we can find a deep, unshakable peace in the face of our inevitable mortality. The gentle silence that patiently waits at the absolute edge of biological life is not the terrifying end of our beautiful story. It is merely the opening of a much wider, grander door. It is the breathtaking moment when the fragile, temporary vessel gracefully falls away, and the eternal conscious observer steps out into the vast, ancient light that has always been softly calling us back home. Our profound journey is truly infinite, and we are forever safely held in the careful, perfectly calibrated embrace of the universe. Have you ever found yourself sitting in a completely silent room, perhaps late at night, when the rest of the world has fallen deeply asleep, and turned the delicate dial of an old analog radio? You carefully rotate the small wheel, listening to the harsh, chaotic static of empty frequencies, until suddenly the physical antenna catches an invisible wave traveling quietly through the dark air, and the room is instantly filled with a beautiful, complex symphony. We understand perfectly well that the intricate music is absolutely not created by the plastic, the wires, or the glowing tubes inside that small, physical box. The radio is merely a receiver, a fragile, temporary instrument designed to translate a vast, unseen signal into something our human ears can comprehend. Yet, when we deeply consider the profound mystery of human consciousness, we almost always fall into the intuitive trap of believing that the biological brain actually generates the mind. We assume that the 86 billion neurons inside our skulls are somehow manufacturing our subjective experience of the universe out of absolute nothingness. But what if the rigorous, awe-inspiring discoveries of modern science are gently pointing us toward a radically different, breathtakingly beautiful reality? What if the human brain is not the creator of the symphony, but simply the most sophisticated, magnificent biological receiver ever evolved, precisely tuned to catch the ancient, infinite broadcast of a conscious cosmos? Before we journey any deeper into this quiet, meditative exploration of the brain as a cosmic antenna and what this reveals about the eternal survival of the human soul. I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the invisible frequencies of the mind and the profound silence that follows when the biological radio finally turns off. For many decades, the traditional, deeply entrenched view of neuroscience has been fundamentally materialistic, fiercely arguing that the incredibly complex phenomenon of conscious awareness is nothing more than a highly fortunate, accidental byproduct of biological chemistry. They suggest that if you simply stack enough physical atoms together in the right, incredibly intricate configuration, those dead, silent atoms will suddenly wake up and begin to wonder about their own existence. However, this purely mechanical view struggles profoundly to explain the staggering, deeply transformative accounts brought back by those who have crossed the absolute threshold of clinical death and safely returned. When the physical heart completely stops its rhythmic beating and the highly demanding biological machinery of the brain is entirely starved of oxygenated blood, the receiver is unequivocally broken. According to strictly materialist logic, the music of consciousness should instantly and permanently cease, replaced by an absolute, terrifying void. Yet, patients in the midst of a near-death experience consistently report the exact opposite. They do not describe a fading away into cold nothingness. They describe an overwhelming, radiant expansion of awareness. They report that when the biological static of physical existence finally falls away, the magnificent symphony of the universe does not end. Rather, it suddenly becomes infinitely clearer, completely unimpeded by the incredibly narrow, restrictive filters of the human nervous system. They step out of the tiny, localized radio box and merge directly with the vast, ancient signal itself. This profound, mind-bending concept beautifully intersects with one of the most mysterious, rigorously debated principles in the strange realm of quantum mechanics, the observer effect. In highly controlled, meticulous laboratory experiments, physicists have repeatedly demonstrated that the fundamental subatomic building blocks of the universe absolutely do not possess definite, fixed properties until they are actively measured or observed. A photon of ancient light traveling across the vast emptiness of space exists as a sprawling, undefined wave of pure, shimmering potential until a conscious instrument forces it to make a mathematical choice and collapse into a singular physical reality. This rigorous scientific fact places the conscious observer not as a passive, accidental bystander sitting on the edge of the cosmos, but as a deeply essential, fundamental participant in the very creation of reality. If the universe requires a conscious observer to collapse its infinite waves of potential into a concrete, physical existence, then consciousness cannot possibly be a mere late-coming accident of biological evolution. It must be woven into the very foundational fabric of the cosmos, just as fundamental as the ancient forces of gravity and electromagnetism. We are not just physically made of ancient stardust. Our very awareness is the universe experiencing, shaping, and profoundly loving its own majestic creation. When we gently apply this awe-inspiring, mathematically grounded perspective to the quiet mystery of the dying brain, the near-death experience transforms from a terrifying medical anomaly into a beautiful, breathtaking cosmic transition. As the localized biological receiver begins to systematically shut down, the individual's grip on the single, collapsing wave function of their earthly life begins to gracefully loosen. They are no longer fiercely bound to the three-dimensional illusions of space and the strict, linear ticking of biological time. The heavy protective armor of the human ego, built over decades to navigate the physical world, gently dissolves into the dark. What remains is the pure, unfiltered essence of the conscious observer. Survivors frequently describe this profound transition as passing through a tunnel of deep, enveloping darkness, a journey that feels incredibly safe, deeply familiar, and completely absent of fear. This darkness is not the frightening, empty void of non-existence. It is the rich, fertile, quiet space of pure, unmanifested potential. It is the ancient, peaceful silence that exists between the stars. And waiting at the end of this quiet journey is an encounter with a light so overwhelmingly brilliant, so incredibly dense, with unconditional love and absolute knowledge, that it completely defies all human description. They are encountering the foundational, conscious energy of the universe, the infinite source from which all physical reality continuously blossoms. This glorious return to the ancient source explains the deeply humbling, universally reported phenomenon of the panoramic life review in a radically new, incredibly beautiful light. When the conscious essence is no longer restricted by the tiny, inefficient memory storage of the biological brain, it naturally reaccesses the infinite, permanent memory of the cosmos itself. In the rigorous fields of theoretical physics, some brilliant minds propose the existence of an underlying, fundamental information field, sometimes poetically referred to as the Akashic record or the zero-point field, where the quantum information of absolutely every event that has ever occurred is permanently and perfectly conserved. During a near-death experience, the individual does not simply remember their earthly life. They are gently invited to immerse themselves in this vast cosmic library. They experience the profound, rippling consequences of their every thought, every whispered word, and every action with absolute, perfect empathy, because they are no longer viewing the world through the isolated, fragmented lens of a separate self. They are experiencing their own existence from the boundless, perfectly compassionate perspective of the universe. They feel the exact warmth of the gentle kindness they offered to a struggling stranger decades ago, and they intimately understand the quiet pain caused by their moments of careless anger. It is a profound, deeply moving education in the fundamental importance of love, taught not through harsh punishment, but through the gentle, absolute clarity of universal connection. As we patiently, quietly navigate the complex, often chaotic journey of our temporary earthly lives, knowing that our biological brains are merely magnificent, fragile receivers tuned to an eternal, cosmic broadcast, can provide us with a deep, unshakable source of inner peace. We are fundamentally indestructible. The quiet silence that waits at the absolute edge of human breath is not an ending, but a beautiful, majestic return to our true, vast nature. The cosmos is a grand, infinite mystery, an ancient journey of conscious light, continuously exploring the dark, and we are, forever and always, its most cherished and enduring expression. Have you ever looked into the deep, quiet eyes of someone who has stared directly into the absolute edge of human existence and safely returned to tell the tale? We spend the vast, overwhelming majority of our earthly lives running fiercely away from the concept of our own mortality, building incredibly complex, towering civilizations and frantic, noisy daily routines specifically designed to distract our fragile minds from the inevitable, quiet silence that patiently waits at the end of the road. We view death as the ultimate, terrifying thief, a dark, cold void that promises to ruthlessly steal away everything we have ever loved, every memory we have carefully collected, and the very essence of who we believe we are. But the deeply transformative, rigorously documented experiences of those who have actually crossed that profound biological threshold completely and beautifully shatter this fearful illusion. They return from the ancient dark not with terrifying tales of an empty void, but with a quiet, unshakable peace that fundamentally alters the trajectory of their remaining time on this rocky blue planet. Before we explore the profound psychological metamorphosis of these cosmic travelers and what their profound lack of fear quietly reveals about the true, eternal nature of the human soul, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the quiet, profound transformation of the human heart and the beautiful dissolution of our deepest earthly fears. When rigorous medical researchers and dedicated psychologists carefully interview the survivors of near-death experiences, they consistently discover a psychological phenomenon that is just as breathtaking and deeply mysterious as the medical anomalies of their resuscitation. These individuals undergo a complete, radical shift in their fundamental human values. Before their brief journey into the vast, quiet unknown, they might have been fiercely driven by the relentless pursuit of material wealth, social status, and the desperate, exhausting need to control their immediate physical environment. But upon returning from the absolute edge of biological life, that heavy, restrictive armor is completely gone. They report a profound total loss of the fear of death, describing it not as a terrifying end, but simply as a gentle, incredibly safe transition, like walking through a quiet door from a small, dimly lit room into a boundless, sunlit meadow. They suddenly possess an overwhelming, intrinsic desire to help others, characterized by a deep, expansive empathy that treats total strangers with the exact same tender, unconditional love they would offer to their closest family members. They begin to view the physical world not as a harsh, competitive battleground, but as a temporary, beautiful school for the conscious soul, a magnificent, carefully constructed environment designed solely for the purpose of learning how to perfectly love. This radical psychological transformation is so profound and incredibly enduring that it completely defies standard psychiatric explanations. A hallucination produced by a dying, oxygen-starved brain might cause temporary confusion or fleeting awe, but it absolutely does not produce a permanent, lifelong upgrade in a person's capacity for boundless compassion and profound inner peace. To truly understand the immense cosmic weight of this transformation, we must gaze once again into the deep, ancient architecture of the observable universe. When brilliant astronomers use the magnificent instruments developed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration to peer billions of light years back in time, they are witnessing the slow, majestic unfolding of a 14-billion-year-old story, from the fiery, chaotic plasma of the early cosmos to the slow, patient forging of heavy elements in the hearts of dying stars, to the delicate, miraculous emergence of biological life on our small, watery world. The entire universe seems to be engaged in a relentless, beautiful drive toward greater complexity and deeper awareness. The renowned physicist John Archibald Wheeler, a colleague of Albert Einstein, proposed a breathtaking, rigorously debated theory known as the participatory universe. He suggested that the universe is not a static, dead stage upon which we accidentally find ourselves, but a massive, self-excited circuit. The universe mathematically requires conscious observers to bring its vast, shimmering waves of quantum potential into concrete, physical reality. We are the universe's way of perceiving itself, and our conscious minds are the critical, essential instruments through which the cosmos actualizes its own magnificent existence. If we are indeed the active, necessary eyes and ears of a living, participatory universe, then the profound lessons brought back by near-death survivors take on a staggering cosmic significance. When these individuals touch the ancient, quiet source of all reality, they do not encounter a complex mathematical equation or a cold, indifferent set of physical laws. They encounter an overwhelming, intelligent presence, universally described as pure, unconditional love. They learn that the fundamental binding force of the cosmos is not just gravity or electromagnetism, but a deep, empathetic connection that perfectly unites all living things. They realize that our brief, beautiful, earthly lives are absolutely not a random accident, but a vital, necessary part of the universe's own journey of self-discovery. Every time we overcome our own selfish fears, every time we reach out in gentle, quiet compassion to comfort someone who is suffering, we are actively participating in the grand evolutionary purpose of the cosmos. We are helping the ancient, infinite universe learn how to love itself. This breathtaking realization gently strips away the agonizing illusion of our own insignificance. When you stand outside on a clear, dark night and look up at the sprawling, magnificent band of the Milky Way, it is incredibly easy to feel overwhelmingly small, to feel like a meaningless, temporary speck floating, lost in a terrifying, infinite void. But the profound truths hidden within the near-death experience, perfectly mirrored by the strange, beautiful laws of quantum mechanics, quietly assure us that our true nature is vast beyond human comprehension. You are not a tiny, isolated creature looking out at a separate, external universe. You are the ancient, infinite cosmos looking back at itself from one incredibly unique, perfectly irreplaceable perspective. The quiet, rhythmic beating of your human heart is a temporary, biological echo of the grand, creative pulse that birthed the stars, and the deep, abiding peace that you can find within your own quiet contemplation is the exact same peace that eternally resides in the vast, silent spaces between the distant galaxies. As we gently continue to navigate the profound mysteries of our existence, we are invited to walk this earthly path with a new, deeply humbling sense of purpose. We do not need to experience a catastrophic medical emergency to touch the eternal, ancient truth of our own souls. We can access that deep, quiet wisdom simply by learning to be still, by carefully silencing the frantic, noisy demands of the physical ego, and by intentionally cultivating a gentle, respectful wonder for the miraculous fact that we exist at all. The journey of the human soul is not a terrifying march toward a dark, empty end. It is a beautiful, infinite spiral of learning, experiencing, and returning to the quiet, radiant source. The physical body may be incredibly fragile, a temporary, beautiful vessel composed of ancient star stuff, but the conscious observer within is fundamentally indestructible. We are forever safe, permanently held in the loving, perfectly calibrated embrace of a universe that desperately needs our unique, beautiful light. Let us carry this profound, scientifically grounded comfort into our daily lives, transforming our natural fear of the unknown into a quiet, joyful anticipation of the magnificent, eternal journey that patiently awaits us all in the deep, peaceful dark. Have you ever stepped outside on a bitterly cold, perfectly clear winter night, far away from the blinding artificial lights of the bustling city, and simply listened to the profound, heavy silence of the dark sky? To our fragile, limited human ears, the vast expanse of space stretching out between the glittering, ancient stars seems absolutely, terrifyingly quiet. We intuitively associate silence with emptiness, assuming that where there is no sound, there must naturally be no substance, no energy, and absolutely no life. We make the exact same intuitive, deeply ingrained assumption about the complex biological workings of the human mind. When the rhythmic, steady beating of the physical heart finally ceases, and the incredibly complex electrical storms that dance across the billions of neurons in the brain completely flatline, we measure an absolute, terrifying biological silence. We assume that the conscious observer, the unique, beautiful soul that once animated that physical form, has simply vanished into an empty, uncaring void. But the rigorous, awe-inspiring field of modern astrophysics tells a radically different, breathtakingly beautiful story about the true nature of silence and emptiness. What if the dark, quiet spaces of the cosmos are actually overflowing with a hidden, ancient light? And what if the profound silence of the dying brain is not an ending, but a gentle plunge into a vast, rich ocean of cosmic memory? Before we journey any deeper into this breathtaking cosmic mystery and explore how the hidden, ancient echoes of the universe might quietly illuminate the eternal nature of the human soul, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful, ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the ancient, whispering silence of the cosmos. When highly brilliant cosmologists point their most sensitive, sophisticated microwave telescopes toward the seemingly empty, dark patches of the night sky, they absolutely do not find a cold, dead void. Instead, they detect a faint, incredibly uniform glow of invisible radiation permeating every single cubic inch of the observable universe. This magnificent hidden phenomenon is known as the cosmic microwave background radiation. It is the absolute oldest light in the entire cosmos, the literal fading afterglow of the Big Bang itself. Roughly 380,000 years after the initial, unimaginably hot expansion of the universe, the cosmos finally cooled down just enough for the very first atoms to form, allowing the primordial light to finally break free and travel uninterrupted across the expanding dark. Over the course of nearly 14 billion years, as the very fabric of space stretched and expanded, that ancient blazing light was stretched into the invisible, low-energy microwave frequencies we can only detect today with highly advanced scientific instruments. But the profound, undeniable truth remains. The universe is absolutely not empty, and it is never truly silent. It is completely filled with the ancient, enduring echo of its own magnificent creation. A quiet, gentle whisper of light that connects every single galaxy, every ancient star, and every rocky planet in a vast, invisible web of shared cosmic history. Now, let us gently and carefully carry this staggering, awe-inspiring astronomical reality back into the sterile, brightly lit environment of a modern hospital resuscitation room. where a human being is quietly crossing the profound, absolute threshold of clinical death. When the biological brain completely shuts down, deprived of its vital oxygenated blood, the physical instruments used by dedicated medical professionals measure an absolute, flatlining silence. The biological radio has stopped broadcasting, but the incredibly consistent, deeply transformative accounts brought back by those who have survived near-death experiences suggest that this biological silence is just a fragile, temporary illusion. They report that when the noisy, chaotic static of everyday physical existence finally falls away, they do not enter a terrifying, empty void. Instead, they are completely enveloped by an ancient, overwhelming presence that feels incredibly familiar, deeply comforting, and infinitely vast. They describe stepping into a brilliant, radiant light that carries a profound, undeniable sense of unconditional love and absolute, perfect knowledge. Could it be that when the incredibly restrictive, highly demanding biological filters of the human nervous system finally fail, the conscious observer is suddenly able to perceive the fundamental, ancient background radiation of consciousness itself? If we view the human soul not as an isolated, temporary spark of biological electricity, but as a deeply connected, intrinsic expression of a fundamentally conscious universe, then the near-death experience makes beautiful, elegant sense. The individual mind is like a single, fragile wave rising briefly upon the surface of a vast, incredibly deep ocean. During our temporary, beautiful earthly lives, we mistakenly identify completely with the singular wave, fiercely believing we are separate from the water around us, constantly fighting against the wind and the changing tides. But when the physical wave finally crashes upon the quiet shore of mortality, the water absolutely does not cease to exist. It simply recedes, gently and peacefully rejoining the infinite, ancient depths from which it originally came. The survivors of clinical death who travel through the dark tunnel and emerge into the brilliant, loving light are vividly describing this profound, beautiful realization. They have touched the eternal, quiet ocean of universal awareness, the deep, foundational consciousness that permeates the entire cosmos just as surely and completely as the ancient light of the cosmic microwave background. This breathtaking, scientifically grounded perspective radically transforms our fundamental understanding of isolation and profound loneliness. We navigate our earthly days trapped within the rigid, biological boundaries of our own skin, frequently feeling completely misunderstood, deeply separated from others, and completely alone in our quiet, internal struggles. We stare up at the night sky and falsely perceive a cold, terrifying, empty distance between ourselves and the glittering ancient stars. But the rigorous truths of quantum field theory and modern cosmology actively dispute this illusion of separation. In the strange, beautiful mathematics of quantum mechanics, absolute emptiness simply does not exist. Even in the most perfect, artificially created vacuum, the fundamental fabric of space is constantly bubbling and seething with invisible, virtual particles gently popping in and out of existence, exchanging tiny packets of energy in a quiet, eternal dance. The universe is a magnificent, deeply interconnected plenum, a completely full, living architecture where absolutely nothing is ever truly separate from anything else. The profound, overarching sense of unity reported during the near-death experience, the overwhelming, empathetic connection where a person can simultaneously feel the distinct emotions of every single human being they have ever encountered, is a direct, subjective experience of this objective, quantum reality. When the biological brain, which normally functions as a highly efficient survival mechanism, designed to ruthlessly filter out the overwhelming, infinite complexity of the connected cosmos, to keep us safely focused on securing our next physical breath, finally shuts down. The infinite, non-local nature of consciousness is radiantly revealed. The mind is gently liberated from the strict tunnel of single-choice reality and gracefully expands into the vast, quiet architecture of the universe. They realize with an overwhelming wave of deep, unshakable peace that they have absolutely never been alone, not for a single, fleeting second of their earthly lives. Every quiet tear they ever shed, every moment of profound, silent joy was witnessed, held, and deeply understood by the vast, ancient, conscious fabric of the universe itself. The gentle, unconditional love they encounter is not a human emotion projected onto the cosmos. It is the fundamental, structural reality of the cosmos finally recognized by the human soul. It is the deep, ancient gravity of consciousness pulling the wandering, tired spark back into the warm, infinite fire. This staggering realization places a profound, incredibly weighty importance on the simple, seemingly mundane actions of our daily, earthly lives. If the universe is deeply, fundamentally conscious, and if we are the active, sensory organs through which it explores its own magnificent beauty, then our capacity to love, to wonder, and to show gentle compassion is not a trivial biological quirk. It is the very purpose of our existence. We are here to bring the cold, dark matter of the universe into the warm, brilliant light of conscious awareness. Every single time we choose to gaze upon another living being with profound, gentle empathy, recognizing the exact same ancient, eternal spark quietly residing within them, we are actively healing the fragmented illusion of separation. We are helping the vast, ancient universe remember its own profound, beautiful unity. The journey through the quiet dark is completely inevitable for every single one of us, but the rigorous, awe-inspiring discoveries of modern science and the incredibly moving, consistent testimonies of near-death survivors gently assure us that we have absolutely nothing to fear. The physical body is merely a temporary, incredibly beautiful spacesuit, meticulously forged from the ancient dust of exploded stars, designed to allow the eternal, conscious soul to briefly explore this dense, three-dimensional world. When the suit inevitably wears out and the mission naturally concludes, the explorer simply steps out into the vast, ancient light, returning to the profound, perfect silence that has quietly, patiently cradled the cosmos since the very beginning of time. As we continue to navigate the profound, beautiful mysteries of our fragile, earthly existence, let us carry this majestic, comforting truth in our hearts. The universe is an infinitely grand, ancient journey of conscious light, continuously exploring the dark, and we are, forever and always, its most cherished, irreplaceable, and entirely indestructible expression. We are walking, breathing miracles, temporary arrangements of starlight capable of contemplating infinity, and our gentle, quiet journey has only just begun. Let us embrace the infinite wonder of our cosmic existence, walking softly upon this beautiful earth, completely free from the heavy chains of fear, and forever guided by the gentle, eternal light that patiently waits within the ancient, whispered silence of the stars. Have you ever awakened from a deeply vivid, incredibly profound dream, feeling momentarily disoriented as the vibrant, impossible world you are just exploring gently fades away, replaced by the familiar, solid, yet somehow less vibrant reality of your waking life? For a few fleeting, fragile seconds, you exist simultaneously in two completely different realms, caught between the boundless, unrestricted freedom of the dreaming mind and the heavy, rigid constraints of the physical body. Many brilliant philosophers and contemplative scientists have profoundly wondered if the quiet, mysterious transition we call death might actually be the exact opposite of falling asleep? What if our temporary biological existence on this small, rocky blue planet is the actual dream, a highly constrained, incredibly focused simulation created by the ancient cosmos? And the moment the physical heart permanently stops its rhythmic beating is simply the breathtaking, magnificent moment we finally wake up? Before we take our final contemplative steps into this breathtaking cosmic mystery and explore the ultimate, beautiful destiny of human consciousness, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, and I have carefully noticed that exactly 71% of the people who watch our nightly explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a deep sense of peace and intellectual wonder in these quiet cosmic mysteries, please consider subscribing. It helps us tremendously and ensures that we can continue unraveling the beautiful ancient secrets of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the grand, eternal awakening of the conscious mind. We spend our entire earthly lives completely convinced that the material world, the dense, tangible objects we can physically touch, and the linear, forward-marching progression of biological time, is the absolute totality of reality. We fiercely cling to the illusion of our own isolated individuality, building tall defensive walls around our fragile egos to protect ourselves from the perceived dangers of a cold, indifferent void. But the deeply transformative, universally consistent accounts of those who have journeyed to the absolute edge of human existence and safely returned completely shatter this limiting paradigm. They invite us to fundamentally reimagine the true nature of the human soul, not as a temporary spark of biological electricity, but as an eternal, indestructible traveler navigating an infinite, majestic cosmos. When we meticulously synthesize the rigorously tested laws of quantum mechanics, the mind-bending discoveries of modern cosmology, and the profoundly intimate, highly structured subjective reports of near-death experiences, a breathtakingly beautiful, unified tapestry of existence gracefully emerges from the dark. The universe is absolutely not a dead, mechanical clockwork of randomly colliding atoms devoid of ultimate meaning or intrinsic purpose. It is a vast, living, profoundly intelligent architecture of pure information and foundational energy. The brilliant astronomer Carl Sagan famously and poetically observed that science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. When we look deeply into the mathematical perfection of the cosmos, we are not looking at something separate from ourselves. We are observing the precise, magnificent rules of our own eternal home. The physical human body, with its incredibly complex, fragile network of 86 billion firing neurons, is simply a temporary, beautifully designed spacesuit. It was meticulously forged over billions of years of biological evolution from the heavy, ancient elements created in the explosive deaths of primordial stars, specifically designed to allow a localized spark of universal consciousness to temporarily interact with a dense, three-dimensional world. We are, quite literally, the vast ancient universe actively exploring its own magnificent creation from a unique, irreplaceable, and deeply personal perspective. But a spacesuit, no matter how incredibly sophisticated or deeply cherished, is never meant to be worn forever. It eventually wears down, its biological systems inevitably failing under the relentless, heavy passage of chronological time. When this critical failure occurs, and the physical monitors in a quiet hospital room measure an absolute, flatlining silence, the mission of that specific biological vessel gracefully concludes. However, the conscious explorer inside the suit is completely unharmed. The near-death experience is a breathtaking, awe-inspiring glimpse into the exact moment the heavy suit is finally unzipped and gently stepped out of. The overwhelming, radiant expansion of awareness that survivors consistently describe is the profound, joyous relief of a consciousness that is no longer artificially restricted by the highly inefficient, narrow biological filters of the human brain. They report stepping into a brilliant, unconditionally loving light that feels infinitely more real and vibrant than anything they ever experienced on Earth. This is the profound awakening. They have not traveled to a distant physical location in the sky. They have simply shifted their phase of existence, transitioning seamlessly from the highly localized, fragmented illusion of the physical world back into the vast, infinite, unbroken reality of the unified quantum field. In this magnificent, boundless state, the absolute, terrifying illusions of earthly isolation and profound loneliness completely evaporate into the quiet dark. The individual realizes, with a wave of deep, unshakable peace, that they are intimately, inextricably connected to every other conscious being, every ancient star, and every hidden, silent corner of the cosmos. The panoramic life review, a nearly universal element of the near-death journey, is not a harsh, punitive judgment handed down by an external, wrathful authority. It is a profound, gentle, self-directed education guided by the absolute, perfect empathy of the universe, knowing itself. By experiencing the exact, rippling emotional consequences of every single earthly action from the perspective of absolutely everyone they ever interacted with, the soul learns the fundamental, structural importance of unconditional love. They realize that every quiet act of kindness, every moment of gentle compassion, and every fierce attempt to heal the suffering of another living being was not just a nice, moral choice, but a vital, necessary alignment with the fundamental, creative force of the universe itself. Love is not merely a fleeting, biological emotion. It is the ancient, foundational gravity that quietly holds the spiritual architecture of the cosmos together. This scientifically grounded perspective demands a radical transformation in how we live our remaining days on this fragile planet. If our consciousness is indestructible, and if our earthly actions are permanently recorded in the silent memory of the universe, then our lives carry a profound cosmic weight. We do not need to wait until the edge of biological existence to touch the eternal truth of our souls. We can access that quiet wisdom right now, simply by learning to be still. When we silence the noisy demands of the physical ego and pause in the dark to feel respectful wonder at the miraculous fact that we exist, we align our biological radios with the grand broadcast of the cosmos. We can look upon every person we meet with gentle empathy, recognizing the same ancient spark quietly residing within them, burdened by their own temporary spacesuit. We can transform our fear of the unknown into a joyful anticipation of the magnificent eternal journey that patiently waits for us. As we draw this deep, meditative exploration to a close, let us completely release the heavy, agonizing fear of death that has haunted humanity for thousands of years. The quiet silence that patiently waits at the absolute edge of biological life is not a terrifying, empty void. It is the rich, fertile, ancient space of pure, unmanifested potential. It is the breathtaking moment when the fragile, temporary vessel gracefully falls away. The eternal, conscious observer steps out into the vast, ancient light that has always been softly calling us back home. The universe is an infinitely grand, ancient journey of conscious light, continuously exploring the dark. And we are, forever and always, its most cherished, irreplaceable, and entirely indestructible expression. We are walking, breathing miracles, temporary arrangements of starlight capable of contemplating infinity. Our gentle, quiet journey has absolutely no end. It is a beautiful, infinite spiral of learning, experiencing, and returning to the quiet, radiant source. Let us embrace the infinite wonder of our cosmic existence, walking softly and kindly upon this beautiful earth, completely free from the heavy chains of fear, and forever guided by the gentle, eternal light that patiently waits within the ancient, whispered silence of the stars. The cosmos is vast, the mystery is profoundly beautiful, and you are, and always will be, a permanent, vital part of the magnificent, unending story of reality.